Here we are. So, hi everyone, I'm Big Mick, you're watching Big Mick's Little Plot. So, as you can see, we're standing in my polytunnel. It's quite abundant, there's lots and lots of tomatoes and chili peppers and lots of other plants. I want to really cover something a bit different because this has been my first video where I actually try and extol the virtues of polytunnels, because I really think that with all of the things that are going by way of everything that's in the news and everyone worrying about, food and stuff like that, I really think polytunnels are going to be a really great tool by which you can use to achieve a lot more return on your investment when it comes down to gardening space. So we're surrounded now by, literally, it's going to be 50-60 kilos of tomatoes, sat on my hands without even trying to count, and that's not even going into how many peppers, bell peppers, hot peppers, stuff like that, stuff that would normally cost a bit more than, say, a potato. So in the same amount of ground I could grow a fair few potatoes, but to be able to grow tomatoes and higher value items, that should hopefully translate to an impact in your shopping bill. So I'll just show you around my polytunnel, then I'll show you a few little hints and tips that I've developed over I've only been gardening for around 3 years, so I'll show you the little tips and tricks I've learned with polytunnels, and hopefully you might get something out of this. So thanks for watching, and let's get to it. So here you can see this is just one of my tomato plants. This is my mard. It's a really beautiful specimen, because I have taken you to my biggest tomato, because I'm making a video and I want to show off. But you're getting really good organic, or organic to an extent. I haven't got into using homemade fertilizer yet. I've been buying sort of pelleted fertilizer, but that's only really cheap, and in the next couple of years I'm going to be using a lot more of my own sort of homemade compost teas and composts. But it's I only got this place in May, so rock and a hard place. But I think it's things like your chain of custody when it comes down to your food. I think that's really important. How many hands are going to touch your food before you eat it? And pre-COVID and all that, I wouldn't have been too worried, but now ew, gross. So we've got, the chain of custody between me and my food is, there's a tomato, and that's not my tomato. So I can eat that tomato now, and the only person who's ever touched it, other than nature, is me. So I think, and it's never been adulterated with pesticides, herbicides, anything like that. As I say, you can tell there's lots of weeds in my polytunnel at the moment, so I haven't been spraying anything naughty. Nothing that'll probably end up giving me cancer when I'm a bit older, or nothing that's going to make the food taste horrible, and nothing that's going to kill the bees. And I'll show you in a moment, but this place is full of insects and different types of life. So, as I say, yeah, it's just a really good example of, there's how many miles has gone into making this. You know what I mean? If you look at the initial trade-off between, let's just turn this around. So I'm sat next to my Hungarian hot wax pepper. He's starting to turn red at the ends here. He's got a nice one there. I might take him home. See, the redder these go, the warmer they go. So, but as I say, we've got, I don't know if you can see this fella, but it's a nice little bee just chilling out. Do you know what I mean? He's having a little rest, little honeybee from our mate who grows, who keeps bees. But I say this is so heavy now that it's struggling to stand up. Sorry, still new, right? So yeah, so as I say, with being able to grow your own food and really start enjoying growing, I think there's a lot of potential for everybody to provide a little bit of relief on the old shopping bill. Don't get me wrong, say polytunnels are a fantastic thing. They are a bit expensive to start out with, but I think of what are you buying with that? You're buying yourself, in my opinion, you are buying yourself at least, I would say, at least 2 months. You know what I mean? And it's at least 2 months. It could even be 3 months, depending on how harsh your winter is. So if you can trick your plants into thinking it's warmer than it is, because polytunnels insulate a lot of heat. and as I say, the stop frost getting on, because you're a couple of degrees warmer inside than you are outside. Then you are, as I say, essentially tricking the plants into thinking, oh, it's spring, or it's a better summer than it is. Now, I know we've had heat waves and stuff this summer, but to get a lot of these plants started early and to start filling up your fridge and giving stuff to your friends, family, start preparing, you know, doing your preserves. If you can skip that ahead, it can only be a good thing. It can only be a good thing. And I'd say I bought this polytunnel and stuff like that, and I've got another couple of polytunnels on my mum's. We bought these because they're just such a great investment that it seemed mad to us to not do it. I'm definitely going to get a second one for this allotment, as I say, because there's already 2 on the one I share with my mum on the other side. And I just think, if you can be producing earlier, you can produce more food, you can have more rotations of crops, and you say you can have just a much better life growing and making your own things. So having those extra 2 months is fantastic. But what else are the benefits? So along with a warmer climate, you can grow a wider variety of vegetables, because, you know, in the UK you are sort of, you know, potatoes, onions, garlic, tomatoes in your greenhouse, and then what else are you going to do? So I think that I really think that having those extra couple of degrees, it allows us to start growing more like sort of Mediterranean items. I say we've got just here, we have habaneros. So we've got some really beautiful orange habaneros on this plant. So some of them are getting really big. And then sugar, get it here. Yeah, so we've got more orange habaneros there. We've got jalapenos, more jalapenos. I like hot peppers, if you couldn't tell. We've got bell peppers hidden, bell peppers. We've got like hot cherry peppers, and as I say, the old favourite, tomatoes. So I think that, so being able to grow a wider variety of items. I mean, 6 sour tomatoes is only going to cost you around £1. This is Sainsbury's on Rice Lane in Liverpool. And yeah, £1.95 for what, 4 in there. It's like 50p a tomato for tomatoes, do you know what I mean? So and I know it's not super expensive, and a polytunnel might seem like, oh, it's £200. So where does the trade-off come? The trade-off comes within 3 years, and I've got beef tomatoes in here that are, as I say, never sprayed with anything, never treated badly with anything, never irradiated. We've made sauces, soups, all kinds, and just eating them fresh, just being able to walk in somewhere, start picking your own food and putting it in your mouth. It's nothing better. It's fantastic, and this is a fantastic hobby for me. And as I say, the investment reflects how much I enjoy this hobby. But it's, as I say, I always say to people that I needed a hobby. I really, you know, everybody should have a hobby, but you can't eat model trains, and don't try to eat model trains. You really can't. I haven't tried. Just putting that out there. So you can really achieve a lot with a small space. This polytunnel is 6 by 3 meters. You could probably fit that in a fairly sized residential garden. Do you know what I mean? As I say, I've only got a little yard, so it's no point in me trying to grow, because it's a dump anyway. But it's only, as I say, there's a very limited space. So having an allotment, thanks to the local council and stuff like that, it's a massive gift, and I'm very grateful for everything that I've been able to achieve. And as I say, that there are programs like that. So as I say, if you even if you've never thought about getting an allotment, I would suggest getting on a waiting list maybe, because as I say, I share one with my mum, and she's been waiting for a while, and now I've got this one, and after waiting about at least 2.5 years, that I was on the waiting list for this. I would recommend to everybody to try and get onto a allotment list. And then when it comes round to it, if it's not convenient to you, just say no. Just say, I go and have a look, and just say no, it's not convenient at this time. But you're at least on the list. You've at least got the ball rolling. You're at least doing something proactive. And I've got to be honest, this to me is paradise. And I don't know, if I could just share that with everybody, I would. So next section is top tips. So Big Mix top tips. Here we go. So Big Mix top tips. Top tip number 1, right? Your average polytunnel that you get on Amazon. I think the brand I've bought this one and the second one, they're called Out Sunny. So Out Sunny polytunnels, they are fantastic. They are fantastic. Not sponsored, but they can sponsor me if they want to sponsor me, because I need more polytunnel money for polytunnels. So yeah, first top tip is heat. Now this year has been extremely hot, so what we've been doing is buying the and it's only cheap, it's like 50p for 2 meters or something like that, is this pipe insulator. Now your pipe insulation is as I say, it's gonna stop the wear and tear on the pressure points for your tunnel, so you're going to get a lot less damage and hopefully a little bit more longevity. They say every 3 years you're probably going to have to replace the cover. The covers are about £100, and the tunnel, the very first tunnel we built on my mum's, that now is at least 3 years old, and the zips are starting to go, but the cover itself is good, and we've done the same thing there. We've used plenty of insulation, and that's been really beneficial, we found. Big Mick top tip number 2, reinforce, right? So it doesn't matter how you do it, but find a way to reinforce your polytunnel. So like we had Storm Eunice, and I'll probably try and splice in some horror video, if not, just watch me other videos, because you can see like we lost the greenhouse and we lost a small polytunnel, but we all was not lost, because we've managed to use the bars off the broken polytunnel to reinforce the joints, here. So like if there's any pressure on the joint point here, because these joints, they only go about that long, so, and if you think there's a lot of weight that's being burdened on these joints, so if you can offset that with this little crossbar here, that should hopefully cause less wear on these joints and give you an overall a stronger, more reinforced polytunnel. So as I say, and I swear by doing this, we've still got some bits there, but chances are, if you're part of a gardening club, or go on to Facebook Marketplace, or even just go down to your local tip or something like that, chances are someone's got one of these, the covers come off and they've just gone, oh, I'm not doing that anymore, and then they've got the bars. Or if you can use anything else, I mean, I'm sure wood would work in a pinch. Just get some like strongish wood that's not too heavy, make sure it's super dry and that. But anything you can do to ease the burden on your joints, anything you can do will give you a longer life polytunnel. Because, and as I say, we don't want to be buying, if there's one thing I hate more than buying something once, it's buying it twice. So that's number 2. It's top tip number 3, right? Membrane. So on my floors, we have just cheap black plastic membrane. Because everything was thrown together in a rush, I still have weeds coming up at the sides. But you know where I haven't got weeds? There. So no weeds there, and that's only because we've got plenty of membrane down. And as I say, it's just saved so much time, because I've just recently, anywhere that I haven't had membrane, I didn't have membrane from the fence to my feet. And as I say, because I didn't have membrane there, I pulled up that by hand with my mum yesterday. So there's plenty. I mean, there's it's not nothing, you know what I mean? So that's work that I haven't had to do. I swear by membrane anyway. Watch my membrane madness video, you'll understand why I swear by it. Don't worry, this is going to get cleaned up. And final top tip, top tip number 4 is get netting. So as you can see on this one, there was no netting over my polytunnel, right? And the reason for this is it was thrown up very quickly and I didn't have enough money to buy the netting and the polytunnel in the 1 month. So as I say, the netting will be coming and it'll definitely be getting done. I don't care if I've got to remortgage my house. I would do that rather than have to repair this tunnel. So I will get some netting and I will bury the netting around the skirtings, just along around here, and that also offers it a great deal of protection and it works as a layer of shade. I'll just show you on the other allotment where, as I say, I'll just show you on my mum's one what I mean. So this is the second polytunnel I built this year. This is, this is the first polytunnel I built this year. We were standing in the second one. So this one, it's mostly tomatoes and lots of bell peppers. We've got a lot of replacement plants in here. So we've got the bell peppers there. We've got a little tray of replacement plants. I've got a nursery bed of plants that are ready to go. And we've got the tomatillos that are just undone. So as I say, you can really diversify with an allotment polytunnel. Sorry, you can really diversify with a polytunnel. So the netting, just sugar. So scaffold netting. It's fairly cheap for what it is. You get quite a lot. You can get it on Amazon. As I say, I'm from Toolstation B&Q. Again, not sponsored, but feel free to sponsor me. Now the netting, as I say, that diffuses a lot of the wind and it stops a lot of the strongest light, causing any sort of problems there. The only downside to polytunnels is really that, you know, beds and beds, yeah, bed pin. But that being said, you park a car under trees, what you'd expect. So it's not the end of the world. They're going to do what they've got to do, aren't they? But I wish they didn't. Top tip number 5, bury the skirt. So we've buried the skirt of the polytunnel in the ground. The skirt buried means that you are more aerodynamic. There is no catch point between the wind and the edge, so it can't be lifted from the underneath. If it lifts one part of the underneath, the underside of your polytunnel, it'll start to pull and bellow and start tearing at your threads and your seams. So as I say, just bury the skirt because it works. And as I say, the less motion you have on your tunnel normally would be better. This is, again, all these tips are just little things that are, in my opinion, these are probably against manufacturer specifications. But again, the manufacturer specifications say to bring these down every time there's a bit of wind. And I'm like, the whole point of having this is to grow food. So I'm not going to leave all my plants to get battered, you know, while Eunice or her horrible sisters have the way with me veg. So it just isn't happening. Well, I'd say veg while I'm filming tomatoes, fruit. But yeah. So yeah, that's I'm filming this after the other bits, so and just the last look in this tunnel. This is mostly a tomato tunnel as well, but I've got some aubergines that are really doing well. Wiggle, wiggle. Someone's told me about overwintering aubergines. I'm going to definitely do that. Lloyd, thanks Lloyd, tell me about overwintering aubergines. My good friend. So yeah, so that's been my video on polytunnels. First video I've done like this. Everything else has been plateaus. So I would recommend anybody to get one. It's gardening's a fantastic hobby to have, but while things are getting a little bit more difficult for everybody in the old pocket department, I would say that it's definitely worth, if you have the space to buy one, buy the best one that you can afford and try and do it right and do it once. Because as I say, doing anything twice when you don't have to is, you know, obvious. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of the any and all feedback, any and all comments. I will try and reply to everybody unless this goes viral, which I sincerely hope it does, but doubt it will. Yeah, just thanks for watching, and I wish you the very best of luck, and as I say, thanks for watching. Bye bye. Try the tomato now. Oh man, it's a slightly smaller beef tomato. Oh, unreal, unreal. I know it's a cliche that homegrown tomatoes always taste better, but sometimes it's a cliche for a reason. See you in a bit.